the beauty of it was that we started off as friends. We were all just traveling, having fun together, and there was no intention of it being like a business at first, which is what made it cool, I think. It kind of kept its authenticity like throughout the years. The fact that we're all close friends is what's the most important thing.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a world-renowned athlete and a member of the most subscribed parkour team in the world, Storror. Please welcome to the JAMCast, Mr. Joshua Burnett-Blake. What's up, man?
Yo, what's up, man? Yeah, been a long time since we've like formally spoken to each other.
It's crazy.
A lot's probably happened since we've last spoken, so it's a perfect time to catch up.
I think, like you said off camera, I think we haven't seen each other since maybe, Two Art Emotions ago, maybe, in Santorini?
And yeah, and even when we saw each other then, it was kind of like sparse communication. You were like obviously presenting, I had something else to do, or filming the event, so we didn't really have much time to catch up. So this is like probably the optimum time over Zoom, or like not actually seeing each other face to face, but that will come.
Absolutely, man. And what's even crazier about that is I always, for however long I've known you, and whenever I think of you, I flash back to this picture that I'm probably going to put on the screen right now. And it's a picture of me walking alongside you and Philly D when we were walking to the National Theatre in London for the Red Bull Art of Motion there.
Again, yeah, it seems to be always these Art of Motion type scenarios where you kind of caught up. And yeah, I remember the first time I met you was Art of Motion. You were friends with Ben, and like you guys are connected before, and then you're friends with Phil as well, and just met you at the event, like tagging along with them. And yeah, it was just cool to like see what you're all about. And yeah, it was an interesting time back then. Yeah. Again, a lot's changed since that.
It's so crazy to think about. Yeah, that was back in like 2011. And I think what's really cool to me is that like a lot of people that were kind of part of the scene back then, or like really pivotal figures, you know, have kind of segued into other areas of their life. And I get a kick out of it because like, as I mentioned to you, like via Instagram, like I still stay up to date watching all the Storror stuff. Me and Bailey watch the Join page, you know, Bailey's a member of the Join page. So we watch it. And I think it's just so cool that you were like a part of the old gen and the new gen. So how long have you been doing PK for?
I think I've been doing parkour for like, I don't really count the years very often, but I'd say like close to 13, 14 years now. Yeah, started when I was like around 15, 16 kind of age, and now I'm 29. So do the maths. I'm not certain.
That's crazy, man. And what got you into it? Because obviously you are from over in the UK, right? So was it just something that was a part of all of your friends doing, or what actually got you inspired?
Actually, quite a random story. So I used to go to this private school called Greenfield in a place called East Grinstead, right? And I had this friend called Alex, or Mr. X, maybe call him. And he used to get on the school bus, and he was like a couple of years older than me. And like one day I was like, where are you going tonight? What are you up to? He's like, I'm going to this exercising class. I was like, oh, really? I want to come, man. I want to get fit. I want to get healthy and strong. And he was like, no, I don't know. I don't want you coming. You're annoying me. And I was like, oh, no, please, man. I want to come. I want to try and, you know, like get strong. And after a few weeks trying to convince him, he then was like, okay, fuck it, you can come. Because we basically used to go back on the same train together. And he was just like, yeah, come with me. Ended up arriving at this place in London. And it was actually a parkour generations class, funnily enough.
Crazy.
And it's like the first time I saw parkour, I was just like, whoa, this looks sick. So started going to some indoor classes for a bit, but I realized like one of the faults of the class was that it was too much focused on conditioning and like strength and not enough on the movement. So I kind of started to take it outside of my own. And I was actually training in my town of Redhill. And I climbed up on a roof, and there was this guy there, and like he was way older, and like he was like, oh wait, you're doing parkour? He's like, make sure you're safe and careful. And he did parkour as well. And I was like, whoa, who's this guy? And it actually turned out to be Jason Matten. And yeah, it's so random. And Jason Matten was like, there's these two guys that train in your area. One's called Guy, one's called Joe. And they are from a group called Next Gen, which is kind of like this young, up-and-coming parkour group in England, actually. And they train with Phil and everyone like that. And basically, he wrote down their two numbers on this Evian water bottle, this paper, and was like, oh yeah, give them a call. And I was like really nervous. I was like, I'm trying to summon up the energy and like the courage to call them. Like, oh, damn, I gotta try and ring them. And I called them up and was like, do you reckon I can come out train with you? And like, yeah, sure, man. So I met up with them in a neighbouring town called Reigate. And it actually turned out one of the guys in it called Guy was in a group called Disclosure, or later formed a group called Disclosure, which is like a really big music group. So it's this funny kind of full circle story. And like from meeting them, I just met everyone in the community, like Phil and all those people, and started training with them basically.
Crazy, man. Yeah, and I do know Disclosure as well. That's super interesting. That's
so
cool.
Random.
So random. And so like, had you done any other sports pre-existing to parkour that you think helped in your training, or is this like really like one of your first things?
So I did like school sports, and I did enjoy it when I actually like put myself to it, when I was actually enjoying the moment of it and not really kind of like being made to kind of follow the rules. And doing it for my own fun. That's when I found it fun. But when someone was like, you have to do this move, or you have to play rugby like this or like that, it kind of put me off, because I didn't like the idea of being controlled. But my main inspiration for wanting to start some kind of movement would be like anime, or like Jackie Chan or Jet Li, some kind of like action kind of stars. That's what really inspired me to want to do it. And I remember I watched that District B13 with David Bell and seeing that chase scene. I was just like, oh my gosh, what is this shit? Like, and I just remember watching it over and over again and just being like so inspired by it. It was more like the cinematic and like kind of artistic element of it that kind of struck me first, and then the athleticism came after.
That's cool, man. And I think what's unique about the time that you got into parkour, like similar to me, is that at that time there weren't a lot of like actual indoor training facilities that had really stemmed up or popularized yet. So how often were you training back in the days and meeting up with like those two guys and stuff? And was it all just outdoor training?
So actually, yeah. So it was like, yeah, pretty much all of it was outdoor training with them. As soon as I met Guy and Joe, it was outside. And previously, I'd been training outside on my own for maybe about a few months, and I'd been going out like, I don't know, like 3-4 days a week. And then also at my school, I remember like at lunchtime there was this little step that was like connected to this door, but it was quite high off the ground. So I used to just do precisions on that, and just like in my lunch break and stuff, always focusing on it and thinking about it. And yeah, just like in the early days I was going out quite a lot, I'd say, and training a lot. And then I think through them meeting Guy and Joe and then being connected to like the broader community, I started traveling with it as well. I remember going to a place called Guildford, which is quite close to Red Hill. It's like 25 minutes on the train. And again, another OG character who I'd gotten in touch with through Guy and Joe was Teghead, his name is. And I remember getting to the train station, Guildford train station, and back then, like, I maybe like didn't have much credit on my phone, or like didn't really use a phone. I used to use phone boxes, and I had like all these numbers written down, and I'd go and like call up the people and be like, when are you coming? Because like, sometimes I'd just be waiting for like an hour at the train station. And I remember seeing this like little ginger kid and being like, wait, I swear I've seen you in Tagged videos, right? And he's like, yeah, I think I've seen you as well. And I was like, he's like, I'm Toby. And I was like, oh, nice to meet you. And that's when I first met Toby. So it's like those like early introductions, just cool to kind of remember it now. But like, yeah, it's just so funny.
That's so cool, man. And that's like a perfect segue, because obviously, you know, as I mentioned in the intro, you're a member of one of the most subscribed parkour team on the planet on YouTube. You guys have amassed over 6 million at this point. It's insane. But with that being said, like you guys also have been around in the scene for a long time. I've seen you guys, you know, celebrate your anniversary and stuff like that of your founding. So, you know, besides meeting Toby, how did you get introduced to the rest of the guys like Benj and Max, and how did you guys actually formulate the team?
So yeah, it's pretty joke. So I met Toby first and started training with him and Tag for a bit. And then I met Callum and Sasha at Tag's birthday jam in, I think it was in Guildford or in Aldershot, which is like a neighbouring town basically. And then I started training with those guys. I went to Brighton and like trained with them more. And then I remember it was like years later when I met Max and Benj. It was like me, Toby, and maybe Callum and Sasha, and a guy called Chris, along with Jason, who were training at a spot in Reigate, which is a neighbouring town called Reigate, and it was a spot called Regis. And we all just trained there. And then like these random guys kind of just turned up and like they were training. We're like, oh wait, these guys are training? Where they come from? Like, it was quite random. And then we didn't really speak that much, but it was like on the train back to Red Hill, they were obviously going back to Horsham, Max and Benj, and it was Stephen Whitley as well, another guy who used to be at Storror. And like, I remember just kind of seeing like Max like pull out a camera, and I was like, wait, like, can you just like see what he's saying? Like, I was like, oh yo, like, can you show me your clips? And he was like, show me some of these clips. I was like, whoa, those are sick, man. Like, where are you guys from? He's like, oh, we live in Horsham. I was like, bro, you got to train sometimes. You got to like hang out. So I think I either got their number, wrote down their book or something on my like, crap little phone. And then, gave them a call and started training with them in Horsham. And I was like, whoa, like, there's a completely kind of undiscovered scene here. Like, obviously Horsham movement grew bigger, but like, I think it was completely under the radar. And it's actually quite funny because the first episode of Storror is called Standards, right? Mm-hmm. And it was basically, I remember telling Phil, like, you've got to go to Horsham, like, it's sick. Like, there's a community there. There's a guy called Max. He's making this video called The Snake Eyes. It's sick. And I actually remember being in your hotel room. It was like the Rebel Up Emotion. And I was like, look at this video, man. This guy, Max Cave's doing this sick stuff. And he did like a side flip up onto a wall and shit. And you were like, sick. And it was like, that was kind of like the birth of people starting to understand Horsham and putting it on the map a little bit more. So that's what connected me with Max and Benj. And then Drew, I met a bit later on, I think, as well. I remember meeting him at like a quarry in Reigate. And like, he did a flip or something and he landed in like a weird way and like made a funny sound. And I was like, he's funny. Like, we're going to get along. And that was it. Like, so that was kind of the introduction towards meeting everyone.
Wow. So it's pretty organic. How did you guys actually formulate the team? Did you guys actually have a meeting and be like, let's make a team, let's start putting out videos? Or did it just kind of organically happen?
So I think like the channel started organically. It's basically Max and Benj who were just like going to start making these videos, and like I think they were quite inspired by Danny, because Danny made like a vlog channel, right? And it was like after, or I think it was either on the Chris Ilabaka channel or another channel, and it was like he started uploading these kind of short segments of just like his like daily goings on and random flips and just little funny things. And I feel like Max and Benj were inspired by that to make their own version of it. So then they made standards and all these videos, and it kind of started to escalate a bit more. And I think it was like, they were like, oh yeah, we're going to make this team called Storror. And I think I got a message from like Max or someone saying like, maybe you could be in this team. And it was kind of loose at first. It was just kind of training, having fun. But then obviously over the years, the traction just built, and like it kind of snowballed, and more stuff started to happen, like more videos and then t-shirts and clothing. It just exponentially kept growing. But I think the beauty of it was that we started off as friends. We were all just traveling, having fun together. And there was no intention of it being like a business at first, which is what made it cool, I think. It kind of kept this authenticity like throughout the years. The fact that we're all close friends is what's the most important thing, because sometimes when you put people together like artificially, they can fall out, they might not work together, they might not get along well, and it's not got that like, I don't know, that organicness, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think for Storror, that's probably been the thing that's held us through for so long, is the fact that we all are on the same page and we all genuinely enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, man. I think that is something that differentiates it too. I mean, you look at, professional sports, whether it be, people playing in the Premiership leagues or NBA, your loyalty only goes as far as your contract goes. If you get a better contract, you leave and bounce. Yeah, what you guys had was super organic. And with that being said, like just for our listeners that aren't from the UK, how far do you guys like live now? Are you guys all spread apart in different towns, or like how close do you live together?
So before it was that way, like we were all spread out, but I think it was like within the last couple of years, we all decided to move towards the Brighton area, which is like south of England by the coast. Callum and Sasha have always lived in this kind of area, but then I think it was Toby who moved down first with his girlfriend Beth, and then I think it was either Drew next or me and my girlfriend Stanley moved down, and then Max and Benj got a house just literally down the road from me. So it's like everything's now really close together. So it's like if you want to meet up and film some content or like have a meeting, you're all situated in a close place. I think the problem before was that there was that bit, even though we were all in the south of England, there was that bit of separation, and sometimes it was a bit harder to coordinate stuff. But now we all live in the same area. Like you could probably cycle from Toby's probably the furthest out to the right, and then Max and Benj are the furthest out to the left. So probably to get from Max and Benj's to Toby's, it's probably about 15-minute cycle, 20-minute cycle if you go quick.
Okay.
So
Cool.
really not far at all.
All right. And now I feel like the listeners would kill me if I didn't ask these two questions. So is there a meaning behind the name Storror? And second question, who came up with the famous whistle that starts the videos off?
Okay, cool. So there actually is a story behind the Storror. So it's like Storror is actually Max and Benj's middle name.
Okay.
So from their dad's side, and it actually refers back to like an ancestor that they both had, who was like their great uncle or something, and his name was Storror Cave, but I think it was spelled slightly differently. And he used to be he was like a kind of a hermit type character, and he was like a nomad. He lived in like the mountains or something. And he had this cloak. He was almost like a wizard, the way they describe it. And he was like a doctor of like medicine or something like that. And he wanted to just go and study sheep and all these animals and stuff. And it seemed like kind of a mysterious character, so it kind of fit the vibe. But I don't think they intentionally used it because of the ancestor. They just used it because it sounded cool. Storror is quite like an unusual word, and when people hear it, like, what does that mean? They want to find out the origin of the word, because you can't quite put your finger on what it actually means.
Yeah. 100%. It is a super unique name. I always wanted to know that, I guess. And then who came up with the whistle that you hear at the start of everything?
So basically, that was kind of unanimously, like, it was like an identification call. So it's like if you're out somewhere or you're like out training and you've lost contact with another member of the team, and then you know that it's a Storror. So the Storror whistle was to like distinguish between who's a Storror.
That is crazy, man. Okay, and do you know who did the whistle first? Is there like someone to credit that to?
To be fair, I'm going to say I don't actually know, but I'm going to put my fingers on it. It's either Max or Bench. They probably came up with it.
Okay. That's amazing, man. And like over the course of time, like Storror has grown into like this its own beast in it, a machine in itself. Like you said, it's like now an entity that people relate to. It's become a clothing brand. It's become almost like a production company in itself as well. Like of all the things and places that you've traveled to, is there a place that stands out as your most favorite and most memorable?
That's an interesting one because we've been to so many different countries.
Exactly.
And so much different experiences that we've kind of taken up. I'm going to just say, like, just because I'm such a big fan of anime and, like, Asian culture, I'd say just Japan. Like, for me going there, it was interesting because the way in which it's depicted in all these animes, I was like, oh, like, is it actually going to be like that when I go there? But it was spot on. It's exactly the same. Like, the vibe and the style and, like, what it represented was the same as these anime, so I thought it was really cool. Somewhere else, I think the desert we went to in Desert Rampage, that was really cool. It was kind of like an alien landscape. It was almost like Mars. Like,
yeah.
So I like the places that are really unique and just like out of this world.
Okay. Now that's cool. And now just along the lines of like going to Japan and stuff like that, I think one of the projects you guys are most well known for was obviously Roof Culture. Which was a massive undertaking and an amazing project for the community. I've watched it multiple times, It's like, even though you know what's going to happen, you still watch it just because of how beautiful it was.
Thanks a lot.
So along the lines of that, like how long did it take you guys to film that entire project from its origin of an idea to actually coming out and releasing?
Oh, wow. So the actual trip itself was 6 weeks. So it was 2 weeks in each city. So we went to Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Seoul. And obviously the goal was to perform these movements on skyscrapers, right? So it was just mad because it was physically demanding and mentally demanding because like you had to obviously find the locations, had to scout it out, you had to battle against security to try and get these movements done. Obviously, like you had to worry about yourself, but also you were in a team dynamic where you had to obviously put other people and look at other people and make sure that they're safe as well. So it was just a lot of stress, but also so much fun. Like, it was almost like we were a team of like mercenaries or something doing this like crazy mission. And just like, even though you didn't really have time to experience the culture in a way that like a tourist would, which I don't really like that much anyway, it was just like, I don't know, it was like you were in your own unique bubble. Like, and you had to put so much faith and trust in the other members of the team, and just like that kind of bond that you strengthened through that was just mad. It was just like, it was such a crazy experience, like completely unforgettable. And then coming back from that, it just changed your whole outlook on parkour and just like everything really. It was such a guerrilla style mission.
Yeah. For anyone that hasn't watched it, you definitely got to go check it out. It's an amazing film, especially if you're a practitioner in the community. But when you're filming something like that, I guess only having 6 weeks at these locations and knowing that you're trying to elevate the level of your movement for the sake of this project, do you ever feel like an immense sense of pressure or a heightened sense of pressure to perform as opposed to when you guys are just training for YouTube?
Yeah, there was elements of that, but I feel like the challenges that you locked in and found for yourself, they were very like, you were only sure that you could do them, if you know what I mean. It wasn't like you were putting yourself at like this unnecessary risk just to get the clip. Although there were times where there was like security pressure. Like I remember doing these 180s down this staircase, and when I started to commit to the challenge, the security guard did come, and that kind of like elevates the pressure in a way. It's more like the security that had the problem, and to actually then go for these movements, you have to already have the confidence. There's no point in doing it with like half commitment, you know what I mean? You can't just be like, oh yeah, I might try. You just got to be like, I'm going to do it or not, you know? Yeah. I think that was like, everyone was kind of on that wave during the trip, and you were taking it very seriously and like scouting and preparing, and it was just like like almost like a team flow state, I think, that everyone was getting into.
100. And I think that's really cool. I think the coolest thing about you guys, and the reason why you become so popular, is that you not only show like the finished projects, which a lot of us are used to seeing, like, you know, everyone's reel of the year or like their banger clips, but obviously with the join page, we get the chance to watch you guys training and failing things and stuff. But also with the vlog style videos, you really open it up to really show people like the entire side of parkour, including the mentality side. And I know one of the videos that like I'll remember was when you guys went to Manpower. And I remember basically it being like an intense buildup, and it got to the point where you made the conscious decision to not jump it that day. And I've always wanted to ask you, like, do you think that's a place that you'll ever go back to? And would you approach it differently? Or what was it about the day that kind of just made you be at peace with just walking away, you know?
Interesting, yeah. So maybe peace is like a strong word. It was kind of like turmoil in a way.
That's a better answer. I'm glad I asked you that. That's what I was curious
about.
That
was definitely like an interesting transformative moment, because basically I've had this long-term injury, like a few injuries.
Yes.
And one of them was like a loose ligament in my right knee.
Yes.
And I went to a gym in Liverpool called the Airborne Academy, and I was training there. And like there was this condensation that was built up on the roof, right? And it fed onto this AstroTurf, and the whole floor was like wet. So I did this dive cat pass and landed, and my foot slipped out, and my ligament in my right leg just popped. And ever since then, like, oh crap, whoa.
He's back.
I'm back. I'm still alive. I'm still alive. Yeah, so the ligament then popped, and like for like the years after that, I never fully regained like full stability and like confidence in that right leg. So doing strides is a no-go, like taking big impacts were a no-go. So I had to completely reimagine and re-elevate my style to like a different kind of movement, more climbing based, more sense, more creativity, more flows, and that kind of style of things. So that's what put me off doing those kind of like super impacty jumps. So being at Manpower now, everyone's doing Manpower. I'm just like, I want to do it. I think I'll be all right. But there was that nagging feeling in the back of my head. What if I land my leg straight and my ligament just pops out again? Yeah. That would be shit. So instead of taking that unnecessary risk, I thought maybe I should rein it back. But there was still that part of me that was like, I want to be over there. I want to join my friends on the other side. So I just broke. Like I never felt that much emotion on like a parkour movement. It was mad. Like, I fully just broke down, like, and just felt like, cause I knew that in my mentality I could make it. It wasn't like a problem of the impact or the distance. It was more what it would do to my body. So that was the issue.
Crazy. I've always wanted to ask you that, because obviously, like you said, skill-wise and experience-wise,
yeah,
more than ready to do it. But
yeah, of course.
Obviously, you have to listen to your body and trust it. But I think that's really cool. It's a lesson learned that I feel like it doesn't get shown so much on YouTube, especially just in our community. You know, people don't always get to see the other side of things. They just view you in this light of like, oh, Josh does all these crazy tricks and stuff. But it's cool to kind of show the other side of it, you know.
Exactly, yeah. I think as well, like you see an athlete or you see someone doing their sport at the peak of what they do, and it kind of can get to the point where they seem robotic. Do you know what I mean? They seem like they're just always doing it, always hitting it, it's always going well, they're always perfecting it, and you don't see that nitty gritty other side. And like you said, I guess with the vlogs, you're putting yourself out there in a way, because you're obviously showing the preparation, you're showing how it's done, but you're also showing that it doesn't always go to plan. You know, so sometimes you got to walk away. Like, I feel like after that and letting go of that emotion or whatever, it was a relief for me, and it kind of just changed my outlook on things a little bit and made me just a bit more comfortable in my own skin. So it was good. It was like a good experience. And I feel like I've actually developed a lot more strength and confidence in my right leg. I've been doing like this specific exercise program that's given me, unlocked a lot for my body and like helped my injuries a lot. So it could be something I go back to.
Okay. Hell yeah, man. Well, I know all too well about it. I've had surgery on both knees, so I feel for you, bro. I sympathize. And now I actually didn't really, I knew that you had a ligament injury, but I didn't know how it happened, obviously. So with that being said, you said that kind of had an impact on your style. Now, after doing parkour for almost 15 years now, how is your body holding up? Do you have any other extraordinary wear and tear, or do you feel pretty good, all things considered?
No, I'd say for like the last few years, like last couple of years, especially the last year and a half, 2 years, my body's felt better than ever. I'd say it's like really, because it was almost like before I was kind of like, I was way more fucked up. My body was more aching and my knees were in pain, this kind of stuff. But it seems like as I'm getting older and being more smart and conscious about the way I approach stuff and like my rehab and exercises and stuff, it's actually getting better, you know? So maybe the only thing I would notice is like your endurance and your like output is a bit less, but then when I am going out and training, I'm feeling good, so it's good.
Yes. Yeah, I totally know what you mean, man. Because I've crossed the threshold of being 30, so I know what it's like.
That's cool.
But what is cool though is I will say that I noticed, and you'll probably see this in the next few years, is I'm finally at the age where my body's hitting its peak as far as muscle building is concerned. Because as a kid, I was just so skinny, but now I can finally like build muscle. So I feel like you're gonna hit your prime in the next few years. You're not even there.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's, as well as like recovery's improving and health's increasing, and people are finding more modalities and methods to elongate life in general. You're seeing these athletes and people who are going for a lot longer. You've got like Federer, you've got Nadal, all these people who are like continuously smashing it. Obviously, I think Nadal got some stem cells or something, but still, like they're like the opportunities and the reach is kind of endless at the moment. I feel like you never know what's going to happen. Some like people could be going to like 40, 50, doing some crazy stuff. You just never know.
Hell yes. Now I know you said you've been focusing on a little bit more rehab and alternative methods to keep your body intact. But one thing I've always wanted to know is, do you do any other cross training outside to build strength? And I only ask that because your climb ups are insanely fast. And so I just wanted to know if there's a secret behind them or if it's just the 15 years of doing them repetitively.
So basically on the sidelines, because I had these knee injuries and stuff, I was always looking for like a method to, have strength, you know what I mean? Just to give my body a little bit more. So I was always going to the gym, basically, like doing like your bog standard exercise. I was doing push-ups, doing pull-ups, doing weight pull-ups, and maybe some like squats and stuff. But then I noticed when I was doing the squats and stuff, like my knees would just hurt more. I was like, what? So I'm going to the gym and doing squats now, and my knees are caning, like my back's hurting, like I'm actually feeling worse. So I basically was like just looking for ages. Like I was always doing my research to try and find out what like methods you could employ to like, build tendon strength and like ligaments, all this kind of stuff. And I just couldn't find it for years. I was just constantly looking. And then I found this method called functional patterns, which are like quite a lot of UFC fighters and people and like Olympians and stuff have started to take on, but it's much more dynamic and based on the whole body moving as a unit rather than isolating muscles. So for example, you see someone going to the gym and they're doing a leg press. It's like, yeah, cool, a leg press might get you some bigger muscles, but actually using this functional strength where the whole body is moving as a unit, that seems to be the most optimum for something like parkour, because when you do parkour, what do you use? Your whole body, or free running or tricking, whatever you want to call it. The whole body is being moved at once. So it's like almost utilizing the body's like elastic recoil and this thing called fascia, which like connects the body as a whole. And like I've been starting to unlock that, and that's been like game changing for me, basically. Like it's mad.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I had someone on the JAMCast that was a myofascial release expert, and she did some massage on me where literally it felt like she was barely even touching me, and she healed some things on me that have been messed up for like 10 years with scar tissue. Just totally.
Yeah, it's mad.
Fixed
yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, it's like integrating all these kind of like movements that relate to human gait and like improving your posture and your biomechanics, and just like basically the system I think like works on athletes and really good movers who have these kind of things that almost connect each other universally, and it's like it's all related to like basically optimum human movement. Like so for example, like thoracic rotation, when you're running and moving your arms in line with your legs, and like everything kind of moving as a tensegrity, I think it's called, where it's like everything's moving at once, like in a fluid kind of unit, instead of just isolating muscles through pull-ups or I don't know, like a squat or something.
Okay.
And
Or
now,
bicep.
Yes, exactly. And so like comparative to like when you first started in parkour, how many days a week do you find yourself training these days? And do you get to train outside of when you're filming, or is it always to create content?
So I'd say that maybe it's slightly less than what I used to when I was a kid. I was going out all the time, every day, to weekends, weeks. But yeah, probably like 4 or 5 times a week, I'd say, like maybe more, all depending on like how good the weather is. In the UK at the moment, the weather's been so bad. So finding the time to go out has been kind of annoying. But also, aside from just making content, I am training a lot and trying to keep that balance of obviously trying to make videos and create content, but also trying to move for yourself and enjoy that element as well, And luckily, I live literally outside my apartment building. There's a spot, so I can just go out and train whenever. It's really good.
And do you feel any like, we talked about it as far as roof culture is concerned with feeling like, you had a set timeline, but I guess the question I have is like, at this point doing it professionally, do you still have the same fun and enjoyment from doing it?
Yeah, I think I do. I really do. Like, but I think at times there has been that, like when it's been so much, you've got, like I said, you've got to have that balance between obviously doing it for creating the videos and enjoying doing it for the YouTube and enjoying whatever, but then also balancing it with actually finding your own time and like being in your own little zone and training, and I think that's what enriches it for me. So it's like, say for example, training on my own or training outside there got a bit boring, then you're making a cool video, you're going somewhere, you're exploring, you're with your mates. So it's that balance between doing it for yourself and like just doing it for the progression, the fun and the pure enjoyment of the sport, because I think parkour is one of those things that's just endless. Like the amount of things you can do with it, there's not really many rules, is there? So obviously you might get some fun lips from people trying some stuff, but I think it's just your creativity is the only limit. So if you get bored of it, you're kind of boring.
Yes.
I think one thing that's kind of cool too is like, since you've been in the sport for so long too, I feel like when we first started in our generation, like back in the days, it was really about a lot of like big height drops and big massive flips and stalls. And I feel like creativity is finally something that's become popularized, obviously guys like Pasha down to guys like yourself and stuff like that. So what inspires you to move when you're out there? And what advice would you have for like, kids that are trying to look outside the box in order to like, create their own style?
Okay, so I'd say like draw inspiration from everywhere. Like don't just think about it as, like I said, just a very basic set of moves, just cat pass, flyer, this and that. Because like I think that side of it has kind of gotten a bit more boring for me. I prefer when like it is a bit more spicy, fruity, different, like interesting. And I just think I get the inspiration. Just sometimes it's just sudden flashes of inspiration. I just go, oh, I want to try that. And I think through then moving around your environment and going to different spots, going to different locations, you're gonna then find those weird challenges because you're constantly having variation in the spots you're going to. So I just think I'm looking at it as more of what the environment can offer me, and then I can move my body in that way around those objects. Also, another thing I'd say gives me inspiration again is anime, fight scenes, choreography, that kind of stuff. Jackie Chan, like I'll use that as almost like I can like remix some of those to my own style. I might see something that kind of clicks in my head and I'll be like, oh, that was quite cool. Maybe I can try my own version of that when I go outside. So it's kind of those things. I guess to anyone who is thinking to look outside the box, you don't force it. I think as well, you can see some people try and force this creativity too much, and it just stinks. It doesn't have that like authenticity to it. You just got to be free to express yourself how you want. And I think when you're expressing yourself how you want, then all those creative things come anyway. They kind of manifest when you're moving.
100%. And now outside of like watching other sources like, Jackie Chan or, other elements like that, is there anyone in the community that you still watch, being someone that everyone continues to watch in the community and have so many eyes on you guys? Like, is there anyone that you continue to watch?
I got to fill this out, man. Wait. All right. This is it. It's done. I'm locked in now. Can't fall over. Okay. Sorry. So wait, you say anyone else in the community who inspires me?
Yeah. I'm just curious because obviously everyone watches Storror, so I just want to know if there's anyone that you watch,
So I really like that Ethan Rudd kid.
Okay.
I like from Motus. Yeah. I like North Street Boogie. He's sick. I like obviously Pasha, Archie Aaron's really cool. All the like Swedish kids, they're fucking sick. Really like them.
Crazy.
Killing it. Yeah, I like their style and the way that they're obviously dressing, their aesthetic, but then also their movement's really cool. They've kind of got something there, and I can't wait to see that grow. Fat Guys, Orlando's killing it. Really like his kind of monkey movement style. I think that's really cool. Like really building upon the flows and enjoying seeing that. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of my main guys. They're really sick.
Hell yes. And now I think like one of the main goals of most people to get into the sport these days is finding a way that they can translate their passion into a career, or at least some sort of way that they can make a living off of it so they can focus more on it. And obviously you guys have been very successful at that. As far as Storror is concerned, at one point you guys had gotten demonetized on YouTube, and it was a huge thing within the community because everyone they obviously knew the struggle and what it did to you guys financially. You guys did get reinstated and things like that. So what have you guys, what was it that allowed you guys to get remonetized, I guess? And back on the
Okay, yeah.
platform?
So yeah, that was obviously like a hard time. Like we were like kind of unsure about what. Well, obviously, we were going to still keep making videos because we just that's what we do, and we're still doing the clothing sales and stuff like that. So that was still pretty good and supplementary. But then also, I think Drew actually was speaking in tandem with a lawyer, and like they kind of constructed some of the like they put like together a list of things that didn't quite add up about being demonetized, and some of our videos and how positive they were, they help people, like things like that. We sent that letter to the I think to YouTube, and then they just came back saying, yeah, we'll remonetize you. So yeah, it was mad. It's all just kind of clicked back on, and we're like, well, fair enough. It actually worked. So thank Drew for that. I think like Drew put in a lot of time and effort to figuring out a way how we could be remonetized. And plus, I think YouTube were kind of like, I think looking at changing the terms and conditions. I think some big things happened within their like their ads and stuff, and they were trying to seem like they were doing something about it. It was like people like Ali Law, or like not to give him any hate or anything. Obviously, he's out there doing his thing, but that urbex style of like breaking into places and getting into Big Brother house and stuff like that kind of caused a bit of a backlash for us, I think. And we were kind of lumped into that same category. Oh, they're just dangerous. They're not doing anything constructive. They're just like vagabonds, But then when you actually spend time and look at the videos and look at the process, the artistry, like the cinematography and the things that go into it, I think they must just realize, no, these guys are actually, doing it properly. So obviously now there's still some things that we have to kind of keep in line with, and things that we can't necessarily push as much. But the fact we're still able to make money from it and, give people the content they want is like the most important thing, I think. So it's good that we can still do it.
Yeah, for real. And outside of obviously producing your guys' own content and your own clothing line, which is successful, I've seen you've had the opportunity to work with other brands collectively as a team. You guys also got to work on Six Underground with Michael Bay. I've seen you do campaigns for Nike and Swatch. So are you making a full-time as a professional parkour athlete at this day in time?
Yeah, for sure. That's like completely 100% main income. Like, so obviously we've got the money that we get from the ad revenue and the clothing stuff, but there are these campaigns and jobs and things where people get in touch with us and want us to work with them. Like recently, the campaign for Reebok, which is pretty cool, and like they just shout me out via Instagram. It seems to be like Instagram. Quite a lot of these jobs come through. I think they see your page or what you do, they like it, and then they just reach out and want to work with you. So I'm definitely thankful for all that kind of stuff. And again, it's like as long as you're doing what you enjoy and you're putting out some stuff that you like and you're happy with, then if you're doing it consistently, then the chances are someone's probably going to come along and be like, yeah, it's cool, like I want to work with you. So it's cool.
That's super cool. And now obviously, like, we see the Storror army all over you guys' videos and things like that. How often do you guys get recognized? Is it mostly when you're back home in the UK, or is it globally at this point?
It's global, man. Yeah, like, it's actually mad. Like I don't want to be one of these like ego type characters like, yeah man, I got so much clout, people are like notice me everywhere I go. Like it's not like that. Like I really appreciate that, and I think it's cool that people who have seen the videos and enjoy it that much to actually see you out and about and shout at you and say, hey man, like I don't want to be rude, but I don't talk to me. Like I've got time for anyone who comes up and wants to speak, because without them, without their support, then we wouldn't be doing anything like that, so I'm really thankful and appreciative, but I don't want to let ego get in the way of that and become some kind of egotistical douchebag.
Yeah, 100%. And now obviously everyone kind of would love to be in the same position you guys are in. So like, do you have any advice for kids these days that are trying to make a profession out of doing parkour? I think a lot of kids get intimidated that it's oversaturated or, they're late to the game. So do you have any advice for them as far as like making a career out of their movement?
Yeah, okay. So like if you're doing it in a team circumstance, obviously like try and make sure you guys are all friends before you get into it, or like you actually genuinely enjoy it. Don't try and peak too early by thinking that I'm going to get into it just to make money. Like I think the love and the enjoyment is what comes first, and then if you're doing it for long enough, then you're going to find a creative way to make money from it. You know what I mean? Like I think that's probably the most important thing. You've got to try and have some kind of passion for it, because say even if you were doing a job where you're making like millions or whatever and you weren't happy with it, you weren't enjoying with it, what do those millions mean when you're not enjoying your life? It's just hollow, So it's like you've got to have joy and fun and just like, genuinely enjoy what you do. So I think that's probably the most important thing, like, and keep consistency. Don't just upload a couple of videos and then give up. Like, you've got to put in the effort and the work, and then eventually that will then pay off, because it was a long time before we start to actually get that full recognition and the people in the public knew who we were. It was just like a long process of doing it for fun, and then bam, it happens. So it's like, I think that's what it is: consistency and enjoyment and genuine love of what you do.
100%. And I think you guys have, I saw a video where you celebrated like 10-year anniversary or something, but how long did it take before you guys hit that threshold, you think, where it took off to the next level?
It actually was the POV videos, I think. So it was that first POV with like Drew, Max and Benj. I think that's what, it was a way where people who obviously saw parkour, they saw it in a format that was like accessible for them to kind of see the perspective of parkour moving, and then having those 2 or 3 other people in front of the camera kind of added another layer to that, I think. And that's what drew people from the public in. They're like, oh, now I can kind of see this POV angle and like see what it's actually like to move through the space. And I think that's what kind of popped it, really. And then obviously doing all the RCA stuff and that video coming out, some of those clips coming out on Instagram and releasing those like We've Got Dre's extra videos, that also added another element, seeing parkour at that kind of height as well. Not many people had seen it before in that kind of context, and then to see how they did it as well. So it's like, it's all well and good seeing a clip of someone just doing a big roof jump, which is sick, but it's like when you see the process of how it's deconstructed, that's what gives you the insight into that world. So you're seeing the world through our lens, and I think that's what a lot of people like respect about seeing the parkour videos or seeing the vlogs, is you're then seeing this kind of broken down version of how it all goes. You're not just seeing robots, seeing characters, personality, that kind of stuff.
Now, you don't have to give away any secrets here or ruin anything, but do you guys have any plans for any larger scale projects again, like a Roof Culture, or for now will you just focus on YouTube?
No, we definitely have another project in the pipeline coming up. So we released this Odyssey trailer on our YouTube, but like that, the scale of that potentially is going to be mad. Like drawing from people we've worked with before and people who we would want to work with involved in this project. So it's just about culminating it, getting it all right, and then like when it comes through, it's going to be very cool.
Okay. And I know one of the other projects you guys have been publicly able to talk about a little bit about is working on this parkour video game, where I saw that you guys actually got to do some motion capture as well. And how did you guys get tied into that? And how much longer do you think until the world will get to like play it?
So we got I think basically one of the developers had watched Jimmy the Giant video where he was talking about parkour video games, and he said that's how he kind of found out about us. And then he messaged the Storror email about us potentially doing a video game. So we were like, wow, that sounds really cool. So we obviously had a meeting with some of the game developer characters, and it's like kind of more like an indie kind of vibe in a way, like, but they definitely have a good idea of how it's going to go. And yeah, it's all really working out quite well, but it's definitely a lot of like work in terms of like getting a solid idea between the developers and the parkour athletes, like kind of getting that nice mesh between both of us, where we kind of have an element of creative control of the project, but then they've also got the expertise. So it's just finding that kind of perfect balance between them. Obviously, we started a Kickstarter and we raised some money towards a project, but now we're just moving forward with everything, and hopefully we're going to have a demo soon. I can't tell you an exact date, but it's going to be soon. Kind of like it's like a beta version of the game that people can play and have early access to, people who are joined via the Kickstarter. And it will be like fairly basic at first, but you're going to see the development of the game and how it elevates till it's fully released. So yeah, it's really exciting, and hopefully we'll be able to, make a parkour game that does parkour justice. Because obviously, out of all the games that have come out of parkour, I think Mirror's Edge is probably the best one. It had the most the most authenticity, kind of that POV vibe and that kind of almost cool dystopian world that is set in, and the clean edginess of it. I thought that was really cool. And then Assassin's Creed was cool, but I feel like it wasn't specific enough. It's like you're pressing A and you can just climb up everything. It's like you want to see that kind of more specific, intricate level of parkour, which hopefully we're going to be able to develop and deliver in this game.
Hell yes. I'm super stoked to see it. Some of the test footage has looked amazing so far, so I can't wait. And And now I don't mean to take this in a weird direction, but it's something I definitely immediately thought of when I first asked you to be a guest on the show. And it's just because this issue kind of came up within our community and I guess the world over the last year or so. Have you ever felt different in parkour as being a black athlete within a sport that I guess is predominantly mixed races and cultures? And I only ask that because like when I first met you, everyone used to call you Black Josh. Like, I feel like that was like the differentiation of like who we training with. Like, oh, Black Josh is coming too. And I'm like, looking back on it now, I just was curious if like you ever felt different within this community, or you always just felt like a member because of your movement, you know?
Interesting, yeah. So I've always kind of felt like I was quite a quirky, weird character anyway. So maybe that was also tied to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Maybe I just didn't actually think about it like that. I've never really deconstructed that element before, you know, like, but now you say it, maybe it has been a thing that's been, you know, spoken about, or people have viewed me in a different way just because I'm black. But it's weird, I never really like attached myself to that branch, if you know what I mean. Obviously I'm a black guy and I'm very happy where I come from, my history, everything, my heritage, and you know, that's all very interesting. But I just try and see myself as a human being and try and view other people as human beings. Like, there's definitely this problem going on, and like, thankfully it seems to be slowly elevating and people are becoming more level in a sense. But I try not to focus on the semantics or the politics of it too much. I don't want to get too involved. I'm very happy that like things are starting to level out, but for me as an individual, I've not really focused on it, you know, ever.
No, it's good to hear, man. And I think you're right. I think you were always just known as like a quirky character regardless. And I feel like that was probably more of the association. So
probably, yeah.
Just had to ask. And now, is there any advice you would give a younger Josh, maybe, you know, 15 years ago, any advice you would have given yourself to save you time along this journey?
Interesting. Read books. That'd be a good one. Slow down.
In life or in movement?
Oh, in life. I mean, just like don't just try and jump to like next thing. Try and have that more sustained focus. I think that's probably one of my things that I wanted to improve a lot over the years, and I finally, like, through just a lot of work on myself and stuff like that, I've kind of come to like a nice singularity in a way. But I think that was definitely like a big part of my life. Yeah, just more focus, more zoning in, more confidence could be a good one. Like, believe in yourself. That's a good one. Yeah, those are the kind of things I'd say. Really, like, that's it.
Hell yes. And now this is a question I always leave with, and I'm really curious about what your answer is going to be. And so I'm going to ask the generic question and then just add on a little tag at the end. So the question I always ask people is, where do you see yourself personally 5 years from now? And where do you see yourself 10 years from now? And the tag that I'm going to add on to the end of that one is, how long do you think you'll be training for?
So in 5 years, I reckon I'll 100% still be training. Just more travels, more enjoyment, more fun, more progression, more creativity. Just enjoying myself with friends, pushing the group, pushing Storror. Maybe have a gym by then as well. Quite cool. Just more fun, yeah. And then in 10 years, still training, I reckon. Still flying about, still doing random weird moves. That's what I think I'd be doing. That's good.
Hell yes, man. I think the big word that you emphasized was still having fun, and I think if
you
make that the focus.
That's it, man.
Hell yeah, man. Well, dude, I appreciate it, man. It's such a trip for me, like I said, to look back all the way back to 2011, walk into the National Theatre in London to a decade later catching up via FaceTime.
Mad, yeah, 10 years.
10 years.
Crazy. That is mad.
It's crazy.
We've got to catch up, man. We've actually got to meet up after all this pandemic stuff.
Yeah, man. This is the first year I haven't been to Europe. I usually go every year for Art of Motion or for something. So as soon as this ends, I'll definitely be over in the UK.
Yeah, shout me, bro.
Hey, yo,
thanks for having me on.
Bro, of course, man. And before we get out of here, can you just let people know where they can continue to follow you personally and also the team collectively?
So if you want to follow me, go on Joshua Storror Instagram, and then if you want to follow the team, follow @Storror on all socials, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything. And website, Storror.com. That's it.
Hell yeah, easy as that. Yo, guys, with that being said, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for brand new JAMCast, interviewing influential members of the community like Mr. Joshua Burnett-Blake himself. So with that being said, guys, I had to give one more very special thank you. Yo, thanks for coming through, Josh. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hell yes, guys.
Peace out.
As always, guys, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMCast. Till next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.